The question and answer session will probably be at the end of your presentation and might be what you are most remembered for. Make sure you are prepared so that you can show up with confidence. Here are a few tips to prepare for questions that can increase audience engagement, can help you respond intelligently, help you deal with presentation hijackers or dissenters, and help you to figure out how to own the end of your presentation. Prepare for questions. Write down a few questions that you anticipate you might be asked. Rehearse your answers. One of the questions you practice can be used to get the ball rolling in a Q&A session, especially if no one has a question right away. You want to reinforce your key messages. It can be very effective to end your answer with a relevant key point from your presentation. And that's why we need to, and then a point from your presentation. Focus specific questions on topics you're comfortable discussing. You can define your question topics for the audience before taking questions. For example, when discussing an upcoming project and your part is mostly the project timeline, you can ask, what questions do you have about the project timeline? Increase your audience engagement. Let them know near the start that there will be a Q&A session and to write down questions as they think about them. You'll want to ask presumptively. Instead of asking, are there any questions? Ask the more presumptive prompt. What questions do you have? And then pause, look around, and wait several seconds. Encourage questions with your body language. You can lean in, take a step toward the audience, smile, and ask, what questions do you have, while extending one arm toward the audience, palm up. What questions do you have? Plant a question or two. If you have a buddy in the audience, ask your buddy to break the ice for the Q&A with a question which you already have a great short answer prepared for. And then say, next question. Answer your own questions. If you didn't plant a question or no one asks a question, try saying something like, many people have asked me, and then give a typical question. And then answer your own question, followed by, what questions do you have about whatever your topic is? Respond intelligently. Listen, pause, repeat, respond. Number 1, listen to the question without interrupting the questioner, unless the person isn't asking a question. Number 2, pause a few beats. You will look more thoughtful. Number 3, repeat the question, paraphrasing if needed, to both clarify your understanding of the question and to allow the audience to hear the question if it's a large meeting room. Number 4, respond. Choose your response. You could give a direct answer, get to the point, use the PREP method, where you state your point, give a reason, provide an example or evidence, and then restate your point, PREP. Clarify the question. You could also delegate, pass the question on to someone else who can answer it or someone who can provide greater detail. Defer the question. You can put off answering the question if it's beyond the scope of the presentation, or one you will answer later in the presentation, or even one you don't have an immediate answer for. Let me talk to you later. You can always say, let me talk to you later, get their email address. Now, there are alternatives to I don't know. I don't know, but I'll find out and let you know. However, I do have some thoughts around that question. And then you can give some of your related thoughts. You could also say, I don't have enough information on that yet. I'll need to get back with you. Or, that's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that. Start and end your responses by making eye contact with the person who asked the question. Then, as you're answering, look at other people in the audience to involve them. What if you have a presentation hijacker? Maybe you need to cut off the long comment. Well, when the person takes a breath, cut in, say, "Excuse me, do you have a question?" Or, "I'm looking for a question. Do you have a question?" You can also redirect the off-topic comment. "Excuse me for interrupting, but we do need to stay on topic. Do you have a question related to whatever your topic is?" You can deal with a dissenter by first validating them. "Thank you for your opinion. There is almost always more than one way to look at a situation." You can agree. If possible, find something in common to agree on. "I think we both can agree on." You can offer to discuss it later. "Let's discuss this later." You can move on. Break eye contact with the audience and appeal to the audience. Next question. You want to own the end, or do you want someone else to control the ending of your presentation? Of course, you want to own the end. But when you end your presentation on your last Q&A response, your response to the last question may not be something that you really want to end on, or necessarily something that you can plan since you don't know what the last question is going to be. Or maybe you'll run out of time and you'll conclude, "Well, my time is up." You lost control. There is a better, more confident, and more compelling way to wrap up the Q&A. Save your concluding words for after the Q&A. Your concluding words would reinforce your key message and probably have a call to action. To do that, you'll have to watch your time. As you get within a few minutes of the end, offer to take one last question. Or if you realize you don't have time for one last question, segue into your conclusion.